The goal of this presentation is to talk about the what, why, and how of the API, technical explanation about the API, SOAP versus REST, API economy, continuous integration, and continuous deployment. It all started when I heard the term API quite some time ago, working with a recruiting company, which actually covered many aspects, or rather the whole process of RPLC, which is recruiting process lifecycle. We had the clients gave us the jobs. Based on those jobs, the recruiters actually went ahead and sourced the resumes, and those resumes were further screened, and then they were submitted based on the fitment. And once they were submitted, some of them would probably get the interview calls, and then if the interview was successful, the candidate would be offered a job, onboarding would happen, and then finally the time sheeting, and then invoicing. So as you can see, there were a lot of activities that were to be kept in sync, had to move hand in hand, and it had to be smooth in order to make sure that all parts of the engine was working fine. So we used a number of tools to achieve SMR, ATS, of ATS operations, and finally the job board aggregator. So SMR stands for social media recruiting. So we recruited using LinkedIn, we recruited using Facebook, we recruited using Stack Overflow, and GitHub, and then ATS, which the application tracking system. We used two of them. One was Bullhorn, the other one was JobDiva, which was very intuitive, and it could do a lot of things very easily for us, and we didn't really have to put manual efforts. And same is the case with Job Aggregator, because we used multiple job boards, and those job boards had to be aggregated into one particular tool. When we run a query, and the query is actually fetching us result, or fetched us results from all the job boards that were available. So that takes us to the next slide, which is what is an API. So in simple terms, it is an application to application interaction where there is no user interaction involved. Simply one software interacting or communicating with the other software without any user input. Here's the working mechanism of an API, or a high-level working mechanism of an API, wherein App A can be considered as a client trying to communicate with a server, which is kept at some other location, and the request is sent, it is authenticated, and then finally the server sends the response back. A practical implementation of an API was when I implemented the first weather app in Android, which had basically three activities. The first activity was to launch the weather UI, and the data had to be fetched, and the data had to be displayed. So as you can see, these two screens, at the launch of the app, the first screen would show these two sections, and the relevant data would be fetched using the Weather API by Postman. Weather API, and then finally the data would be displayed on the second screen, which tells us what is the weather in a particular place. Types of API: there are local APIs, there are program APIs, and there are web APIs. Local APIs are the original form of API, which is operating system APIs that provide services to application programs, usually the front end or graphical user interface, such as requesting data from backend or from a particular database. Second, program API, which is based on the remote procedure call technology that is making remote program um, execution from other services based on the service-oriented architecture. Finally, the Web API, also known as Web Services, very famous, uh, and it is famous because it helps the applications or devices to communicate with each other using the World Wide Web, based on the HTTP Hypertext Transfer Protocol architecture. Let's talk about the web services, predominantly SOAP and REST. SOAP uses description, uses or SOAP describes a common set of rules to define the message, strongly typed, which has bindings, operations, and location, or what have you. SOAP supports several protocols and technologies. REST is generally more preferred to SOAP because REST leverages less bandwidth, which makes it very apt for internet usage. Uh, REST implementation is simple compared to SOAP. Another reason for REST hype is cloud computing, as REST is a logical choice for building APIs that allow users to connect and interact with cloud services. So scalability is definitely one of the USPs that REST offers. REST is useful for restricted profile devices such as mobile, for which the overhead of additional parameters are less, such as the headers in the REST API. This is talking about the reason why API is in vogue at the moment. As you can see, API usage in 2020 uh, is shown here, wherein REST was used the max for a total of 69%, and SOAP was used for a total of 23%, and others like JavaScript and XML or RPC was only 8%. The next graph shows the calls in billions, and you have the Twitter API receiving at least 15 billion calls per day. So that's a huge number, and that is higher than Google and Facebook, because Facebook is only receiving 7 billion and Google is exceeding Facebook by 10 billion. So APIs are key to continuous integration and continuous deployment. It helps in advanced analytics, connecting and publishing using Twitter and other APIs, risk management, ensuring right information from the right user, login page, etc. Information management, how to add more users and integrate cloud and databases. API economy is a general term describing the manner in which the application and programming interfaces positively affect an organization's profitability. It is basically uh, a customer interface for tech products that allows software components to communicate. Um, that's pretty much what I had for you. These are the references that I used in order to search for what is an API and how it all came to pass and how it is functioning at the moment. Thank you.